Now, during the war, we are especially eager to turn to God.
In the church, a person rests his soul. He begins to believe in the future.
The church was heavily pockmarked by shell fragments that fell nearby. Before the war, it was as beautiful as a bride. When you see destroyed churches, it is very painful. In Ukraine, churches have always been centers of cultural and spiritual life. For centuries, the Church has united people on the principles of love and mercy. I live in the village of Korobochkine, and I went to our Assumption Church, which was very beautiful, wonderful. It had beautiful icons. Here we baptized children, gathered for Christian holidays. Many people came here.
I came here 53 years ago. I used to work on a collective farm. When I retired, I began to visit this church. In the church, a person rests his soul. He begins to believe in the future. All our parishioners believe.
Residents of the village of Korobochkine in the Slobodchina region tell how the destruction of their Assumption Church began with the invasion of the Rashists. There was horror. The Russians crossed the border and it started. The bombing. We were sitting in the basement. And it hit our church. 3 times. The first time after the arrival we came to save something. The Rashists were near Rakhovo.
3 shells hit our church. They destroyed almost half of the building. The roof was destroyed. We are now trying to restore something. But there is still a lot of internal work to be done. And it was scary. It was very scary.
In the village of Rakhovo, destroyed by rockets and bombs from the Rashists, people lived in basements and cellars for 7 months. I was born in Chuhuiv and have lived here for 34 years. I have 5 children, they are already adults. This war started unexpectedly. The Russians invaded us and took up the defense here. They seized the school and the village council. I remember looking up and seeing 4 tornadoes flying over our roof. My heart almost broke, but I calmed myself down. Everyone started hiding in the basements, and in the school, and in the village council, and in the basement of the house above ours, there were 3 people. 2 of them were shot, and one of ours was released. The church was heavily damaged by shell fragments that fell nearby. It was a pity. Before the war, it was beautiful, like a bride. At the end of February, a terrible grief came to us, the Russians. There was a lot of equipment, a lot of soldiers. It was very scary. At night, the horror began. Windows were immediately smashed, bombs were exploding in the yards. Everyone ran to hide in the cellars. Everything was raked out. All appliances, microwaves, even toilets. Their sniper was sitting on the bell tower. Behind the church, in the yard, there was equipment. They also destroyed the church. Many people died. Kharkiv volunteers came to the village immediately after the deoccupation. We arrived in Rakhovo as soon as the fighting ended. It was painful and scary to look at the village. Everything was destroyed. We talked to the locals and they told us that their church was damaged not only from the outside. There were very valuable icons and jewelry inside. Everything was vandalized and looted. During the war, Russian invaders destroyed more than 500 churches of various denominations in Ukraine. Temples are salvation for people. And we did visit some churches where people were saving themselves. They were running to the churches from the shelling, and the priests were hiding them from danger. People say, we come to the priest, hear a sermon, and we feel better. When bombs are flying somewhere nearby, it seems to us that God protects us as if with wings. Reviving religious life in the affected communities, Ukrainians unite in search of spiritual support. We bring a lot of humanitarian aid and building materials to restore churches that have come under fire. We brought film to cover the windows somehow. A priest arrived. The services are held in the gatehouse, it's still leaking. But we, the believers, do everything on our own. We would really like to revive our church. Now, during the war, we are especially eager to turn to God. We really need help. From the first days of the war, Father Hennadiy, a priest, supported Kharkiv residents spiritually.
We served liturgies in the subway and supported people. The duty of a priest is to take care of the souls of both military and civilians who remained under fire, who for various reasons could not leave the city, which was half circumscribed.
During the war, dilapidated churches became a refuge for civilians hiding from Russian shelling. The priests not only provided humanitarian aid to people, but also supported them morally in difficult times.
In the liberated territories, we still have a shortage of clergy. But it is so important when there is a church in the village and people can come in and pray. On Sunday, get together and pray for our country, for our army, for our victory.
Ukrainians believe in the revival of their spiritual shrines, which unite the nation and bring victory closer. But they will never forget the destroyed religious buildings that fell victim to Russia's war crimes and revealed its true terrorist face. Crippled churches, looted monasteries, burned chapels, and smashed icons will forever remain in the history of mankind as witnesses to the cultural genocide committed by racist barbarians in Ukraine.